Here we are.
Grateful.
Hang tight, sir. He was waiting to get the key to open the car.
Okay. I'm grateful to y'all, all the people who prayed, and all the people who texted, all the people who had prayer vigils, all the people who were concerned and sent love and sent notes. Just grateful. Thank you. Didn't have to turn out this way. Just grateful. Not afraid to die. Don't want to hurt my kids. The people who love me. The church who needs me. The world who called me. The God who sent me. Okay.
The courtroom was silent. The kind of silence that makes your heart beat louder than usual. Every eye was locked on one man, a man who has spent decades preaching faith, leadership, and truth. But on this day, things felt different, because this wasn't a sermon, this was war. And right there, under oath, T.D. Jakes did something nobody expected. He spoke, not carefully, not vaguely, but directly, boldly. And what he said, it didn't just shake the courtroom, it sent shockwaves across the entire entertainment world.
You can imagine being 18, 19 years of age. This person is killing it, and they're saying to you, come on in, let's talk. And so I did. I went in. We sat down at a very long dining room table in a room that she had. And for 2 hours, it was unbelievable. Pouring of heart, crying, him talking about my father. We talking about these scenarios. And I inwardly just knew I had finally found someone who could get it. Someone who understood. I'm sitting at this table, and for the first time talking to any man, I got tears coming down my face because somebody gets me. Somebody understood what I was going through. Well, after sitting there and having this long discourse with him, I finally look at my watch and I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to go. I got to get this car back to my mother. She's going to kill me. So I said to Bishop, I got to get up. And I got up from the table. He got up from the table. He walked around toward the way I had to exit quicker than I got over there. And when I started to walk past him, he pulled me to himself, wrapped his arms around me and tried to kiss me. And in that moment, I literally died. I could not. I tell you, to this day, I can't remember how I got out of that place. But I remember driving home with all kinds of crazy thoughts and what in the world am I going to do now? And I finally get home, get in the house, get in the bed. I'm going to try to go to sleep. And I get to sleep and get up in the morning. And in the morning, I step into our bathroom and my home phone rings. My mother answers the phone and she says to me, Wayne, it's Elder Jakes. And I get on that phone. And when I get on that telephone, I can hear water. He is sitting in a bathtub. And in that thing, he says to me, without any hesitation, there's 3 things I need you to do. The first one is, when I come to Pittsburgh, you're going to be the only person I sleep with. The second one is, you can't sleep with anybody else because I don't want to give my wife anything. And thirdly, I will take care of you the rest of your life. I can't to this day remember how I got off that phone, but I do know I made a decision that I wasn't going to the service that night. And eventually I told my mother, I'm not going to go to the service tonight. She says, no. You know, we got a rule in this house. If we go, you go. I never told her what he had done. I went to church, and the most humiliating thing imaginable happened that night at church. Bishop Jakes getting up to preach, speaks into that microphone. I'm going to ask young minister Youngblood to read for me. And after all of that drama of the last 24 hours, I had to read.
Because somehow, some way, his words circled back to one of the most powerful names in music history, Sean Diddy Combs. And let's just say this, Diddy did not take it lightly. What followed next? Anger, pressure, and a reaction so intense, people are now asking, what exactly is being hidden? Because this is bigger than anyone imagined. For years, T.D. Jakes wasn't just a pastor, he was a symbol, a voice of guidance for millions. From packed stadium sermons to global influence, he built something that few could ever replicate. He wasn't just preaching religion, he was speaking about life, pain, healing, and purpose. People trusted him, families looked up to him, and in a world where scandals are everywhere, he seemed untouched. Untouchable even.
World-renowned Dallas pastor T.D. Jakes is named in a federal lawsuit against musician Sean Diddy Combs.
It's filed by a producer that worked with Combs. It discusses how the singer planned to leverage his relationship with the bishop to soften the impact on his public image of Casey Ventura's lawsuit. Ventura is a former girlfriend of Combs who filed her own lawsuit in November alleging abuse, violence, and sex trafficking.
Meanwhile, Combs' lawyer is criticizing the raids at two of the hip-hop mogul's homes in a federal sex trafficking investigation. He called them an unprecedented ambush. It comes as we're getting a new look inside Combs' L.A. house after the search by federal agents. Carter Evans has details about what the feds have uncovered so far.
Guns, cell phones, and other electronics are among the items taken from the homes of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, according to a source familiar with the search warrant performed by federal agents at his properties in Los Angeles and Miami. TMZ says this video shows the aftermath of the raid inside Combs' LA mansion. Drawers empty, documents scattered, and safes opened and searched. Hours after the raid started, Combs was seen walking around the Miami Opa-locka airport, according to TMZ, which also obtained this video. Later, at the same airport, authorities arrested Combs' associate, Brendan Paul, and charged him with drug possession. In a civil suit filed against Combs by former music producer Rodney Jones, Paul was accused of being a drug and gun mule who allegedly aided Combs in sex trafficking. Yesterday, Diddy's lawyer called the law enforcement action nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. Could this federal investigation have come out of these private lawsuits?
Oh, absolutely. If it involves sex trafficking, or drugs, or weapons, or other illegal behavior.
Lori Levinson is a former federal prosecutor.
They've decided this is worth a lot of resources across the country. So once they've done these searches, they have evidence to follow up on. And if they've got it, they'll move on it.
We still here, you're rocking with the best.
Even though Combs has not been publicly named as a target of the investigation, he says he's now prepared to fight to...
But behind the scenes, whispers had already started. At first, they were quiet, almost easy to ignore. Mentions of powerful friendships, connections to celebrities, appearances at events that didn't exactly match the image people had in their minds. Names started linking together, and one of those names kept coming up again and again.
Drink. 2 drinks. And if those girls was drinking out those bottles that he said Diddy laced, and he could show on camera, and he could show that some people had passed out, or some people were acting a certain way after they had those drinks, he won his case on that one.
When you was around Diddy, was he doing drugs, like party drugs, like ecstasy and stuff like that?
Diddy wasn't the dude he is today when we was around, when I was around him. You understand? He had just started, when I was about to leave, he had just started with because he never smoked weed, he never smoked cigarettes, I never seen him do cocaine or none of that shit. You understand? He would have it for people to do it. You understand? Is certain of his girls like to do it, and he would make sure it would be there. But he wasn't the one that did it. Diddy didn't start getting hooked on drugs until he got hooked on those painkillers. After he got hooked on those painkillers, he started drinking more, because he wouldn't even drink hard liquor. He was only drinking champagne, Don P or Cristal. He was not drinking hard liquor then.
Yeah, that's real talk, man. And he also claims that, you know, Diddy, he was using TD Jakes to fix his image. You believe that?
Well, we saw that to be true anyway. That's what he was trying to do all that time. That's why TD Jakes was there, to try to fix his image. Ain't no money.
Sean Diddy Combs. Now, let's be clear. Diddy has always been larger than life, a business genius, a music legend, a man who built an empire from nothing. But along with that power came controversy. For years, there have been rumors, stories about private parties, elite circles, situations that never quite made it into the spotlight, but were always talked about behind closed doors. Still, nothing ever stuck. Nothing ever fully came to light. Until now. Because when legal cases started stacking up, when lawsuits began surfacing, when people started talking louder than before, that's when everything changed. And somehow, in the middle of all that noise, TD Jakes' name appeared. At first, people were confused. Why him? How did a respected bishop get pulled into something like this? Was it just coincidence? Or was there more to the story? And then came the court date. Nobody expected much at first. Most people assumed it would be routine. Legal language, careful responses, the usual strategy. Say as little as possible.
I want to get right into it, man. How you feel about these rumors surrounding, you know, Diddy and TD Jakes?
Man, what I think about it is this, you know, when I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You have to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she. But maybe he there to lay some hands on somebody. Maybe he there to save some souls. I know he got a contract with Revolt, so I'm just like, it's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party or any kind of place with Diddy unless it's in a business atmosphere. So now what he's doing is he's making, man, he's making the Christians look real bad right about now.
And you've been to these parties, right?
Oh yeah, I was there when he was doing the white parties in the Hamptons and the whole 9 yards. So I know what goes on at the parties. If, you know, they probably got a little bit more freakier, you know, as time went on, you know, because they got to the point whereas that they didn't even care. It used to be secretly, you know, where people used to go to, you know, separate rooms and different rooms, and they wasn't doing that out in the public, you know. So, but now they don't care. Men kissing men and all this other, that's crazy.
So why do you think he was going to these parties?
I think that he's going to the Diddy parties, you know, bruh. If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that it's, I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or when we told this happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he needs to see it for himself, man. Maybe he needs to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties. Or maybe he just going to, man, it's hard to even talk about. Why would you find a religious man, You know, when you know that the saints supposed to separate themselves from the sinners, and why would a religious man like himself be at a party which ain't nothing but sin that's going on, bro? Whether it's drinking, maybe fornicating, maybe, like I said, men on men, women on women. It's hard to put in perspective unless he's involving himself what is actually going on at the parties. It's hard, brother. Bro, you know, you can't, I really don't know why, as a spiritual advisor to him, that they buddy while he got a party with him like that and be at his parties. It's got to be, maybe it's something more.
But that's not what happened. Because when T.D. Jakes took the stand, something shifted. His tone wasn't defensive. It wasn't fearful. It was firm. And then he dropped it. A statement so direct, so unexpected, that even the attorneys in the room paused. He addressed the rumors. He addressed the associations. And most importantly, he made it clear that he would not allow his name to be used, twisted, or dragged into narratives that he claims are false. But here's the twist. In defending himself, his words didn't just stop at denial. They hinted at something deeper, something uncomfortable, something that made people start connecting dots in real time. Because without saying too much, he made it known that not everything people believe about these powerful circles is as simple as it seems. And that's when things escalated. Back outside the courtroom, the reaction was instant. Clips started spreading, headlines exploded, and within hours, the conversation had shifted completely. Because now, this wasn't just about a lawsuit anymore. This was about influence, power, and who really controls the narrative. And then came the response. Sources close to Sean Diddy Combs say he was furious. Not annoyed, not concerned, furious.
Or his celebrity friends is going to speak or say nothing until they're either contacted or they know what they really got.
So you feel like they might be worried that they might be on tape at one of Diddy parties doing something they wasn't supposed to be doing?
I think that the celebrities that may be worried is because what Lil Rove said. Lil Rove said in his affidavit that Diddy had every room taped and bugged. Diddy had, yo, bro, can you imagine? He had every room taped and bugged, and they found little bugs and little tape recorders. I mean, little those micro projectors or whatever like that, or video cameras. They found them in the house, bro. So by them having those things in the house, and people know there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men, woman on woman, man on man, all kind of crazy shit. Bruh, they just wondering who or when they're gonna let this stuff be known.
Because from his perspective, this wasn't just someone defending themselves. This was someone stepping into dangerous territory. Territory that could open doors people have kept shut for years. And if there's one thing powerful figures don't like, it's unpredictability. Behind the scenes, reports began circulating, phone calls, emergency meetings, legal teams going into overdrive, because now the stakes were higher than ever, and the question wasn't just about truth anymore, it was about damage control. What nobody expected was how fast things would spiral.
That you were presented with.
Well, the thing with a sexual abuser is they follow a pattern. They fall to type, and you become very clear on what that pattern is, particularly a serial sexual abuser. And these cases were all identical in the facts, identical in the story. It was beginning, middle, conclusion.
They know each other?
Boom. None of them knew each other.
Did you have them meet?
No.
Did you have them coordinate stories?
No, no.
Do you think they had any contact with each other before they came to you?
Absolutely not.
And when you were talking to them, well, first, the ones that you didn't take, why not?
Stories didn't make sense. Stories didn't fit the pattern. Stories were not credible. I mean, this is my 30th year as a lawyer. I've tried over 100 cases. I can assess whether somebody's story is credible. And if I don't believe it, I'm not going to put my name on a pleading, sign it, and file it in court. I'm not doing that. And that's what I did with the 60 plus cases that I rejected.
And this is not really your area of expertise. If people look you up, celebrity lawsuits is not really where you make your bones. Why this?
Well, I was involved in the Weinstein litigation. Right. I was involved in the Paducah litigation. I was involved in the Hayden litigation. Why did I do this? I do this because it's important. I think it's important for people to be heard, have their chance to get the power back. Because sexual abuse, sexual assault is about one thing: taking power, humiliating, demeaning a person and a victim. It has nothing to do with sex. And so I think it's important. I think it's important to get the word out. I think it's important for men to feel, hey, look, I can come out and be heard just like a woman could.
And the defense that, look, they knew what they were getting into. These are regrets. They went there, they partied, and now they see a pocket.
No, I don't think so. One, my client
was... Were they gay men?
One was bisexual, the other ones were not. And they were going there. The client was bisexual, worked for Diddy. Diddy owed him money for doing errands for him and being his step and fetch, for lack of a better word. And I think it was a power move. It was a clear power move because this guy had the nerve to come to him and say, you owe me money. And so Diddy said, come on to the Intercontinental Hotel. He gives him the drug, knocks him out, sodomizes him. And I won't use the term that my client used, but he said he tried to turn me into his B word. And I think it was a clear power move on each and every occasion. I think the ones that took place in the Park Hyatt, that wasn't partying. My client met him at a nightclub in the city here with a music producer. He didn't think he was getting into that. The man who was in the Hamptons, he thought he was going to a white party. Who wouldn't want to go to a white party? I would have gone to a white party.
Because once the public senses tension, they start digging. Old interviews resurfaced, past photos, connections that once seemed harmless suddenly looked different. People started asking, how close were these circles really? What kind of relationships existed behind closed doors? And why are so many names being mentioned now? The internet did what it always does. It turned curiosity into investigation and speculation into full-blown theories. Some believe T.D. Jakes is simply protecting his legacy. Others think he knows more than he's saying. And then there are those who believe this is just the beginning, that what we're seeing now is only a small piece of a much larger puzzle. Because when powerful worlds collide, the church, the music industry, celebrity influence, it creates a kind of tension that doesn't just disappear. It builds, it grows, and eventually, it explodes. But beyond the headlines, beyond the drama, there's something deeper happening here. Because for T.D. Jakes, this isn't just about a courtroom moment. This is about everything he's built. Decades of trust, a reputation that reaches across the world, followers who see him not just as a leader, but as a guide.
Diddy, all these celebrity friends he have and nobody came out.
They brand. It's all about the money. They saw what he did to Cassie. With the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand. Whether it's something about the music, clothing, movies. They're not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them, and they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking. And they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched. And Brother Love was watching.
Yeah, I mean, T.D. Jakes, he haven't even came out and said anything. And him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man. And I know the people in the congregation over there is shaking in their boots because this man then led them probably, allegedly led them to damnation, because those people's hearts are going to be broken if that man is seen on those tapes doing anything. Because people always put their faith in the pastor instead of putting their faith in God. And what they need to do is understand that he's just a man. And he has a history. It's not looking too good for him.
So you feel like celebs are worried that they might be on tape?
Oh, they know. That's why they ain't speaking up or saying nothing. Yeah, I was at a Diddy party, but I know I ain't do nothing. When you don't know somebody's taping you, when you don't know that somebody is videoing you in some kind of form or fashion, you got that alcohol, you got the drugs in you.
And now all of that is being questioned, not proven wrong, but questioned. And sometimes that's all it takes, because in today's world, perception can be just as powerful as truth. For Sean Diddy Combs, it's a different kind of pressure. He's used to controversy, used to headlines. But this situation, it's different, because it's not just about business or music anymore. It's about connections and the possibility that those connections are being looked at in a new light, a more critical light. And that kind of attention, it doesn't go away easily. At the center of all this are real people, real emotions, real consequences, families watching, supporters confused, critics getting louder. Because when figures this powerful are involved, the impact spreads far beyond them. It reaches communities, fans, entire industries, and it leaves people wondering who to believe, who to trust, and what's actually true. As everything continues to unfold, one thing is clear: this story is far from over. Because what happened in that courtroom wasn't just a statement, it was a signal, a shift, a moment that may end up changing how people see both T.D. Jakes and Sean Diddy Combs forever.
And maybe, just maybe, it's the beginning of something bigger, something that goes beyond rumors, beyond speculation, and into a space where truth, power, and influence finally collide in a way the world can't ignore. And maybe that's the part people are still trying to understand.
Because what started as a courtroom moment has now turned into something much bigger. It's no longer just about statements or legal arguments. It's about perception, power, and the fragile line between truth and speculation. For T.D. Jakes, this moment could define how the world sees him moving forward, not just as a pastor, not just as a leader, but as a man standing in the middle of a storm he never asked for. A storm where every word matters, every silence is questioned, and every move is watched. And for Sean Diddy Combs, the pressure is building in a different way. Because when emotions run high and reactions turn intense, people start asking deeper questions. Questions that don't fade overnight. Questions that demand answers. But here's the truth. We're still only seeing pieces of the full story. What's being said publicly is just one layer. What's happening behind closed doors, those conversations, those decisions, those reactions, that's where the real story may be unfolding. And that's why this situation feels so intense. Because it's not just about what we know, it's about what we don't know. What nobody expected was how quickly everything would escalate. One statement turned into 1,000 opinions. One reaction turned into global speculation. And now, the world is watching, closely, waiting for the next move. Will more details come out? Will more names be mentioned? Or will everything slowly fade into silence? Right now, nobody knows. But one thing is certain. This isn't over, not even close. Because when powerful names, influence, and unanswered questions collide like this, the story doesn't just disappear. It evolves, it grows, and sometimes it reveals things nobody was prepared to see. So as this continues to unfold, all we can do is watch, listen, and question everything. Because in moments like this, the truth has a way of coming out, eventually. And when it does, it changes everything. If you made it this far, you already know this story is deeper than headlines and rumors. So make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to keep breaking it all down as new details come in. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think is really going on here? And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Because trust me, the next part of this story, you won't want to miss it.